What's up? What's up? What's up? What is it?
Oh, I was just mocking you.
What's up, you guys? Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining the Midday Explosion. We are so excited. We are happy. We have Cody in the background. He is ready to dive in and talk to us from an inspector standpoint. You know, we've had someone to talk to us when it comes to funding, when it comes to finding deals, marketing of deals, when it comes to rehabbing deals. And we want to bring someone to teach you exactly what to look for when you are getting ready to buy that house from an inspection standpoint. The midday explosion is to really keep you motivated, keep you going as January goes through, comes to an end, but to really keep you going through the year so that you don't lose focus of your motivation, you don't lose focus of your goals, and you really hit the ground running.
You
This
gonna
is
talk the whole time?
this is extremely for you guys. So I hope you get the most out of it. All right. So without further ado,
Can I say something?
oh no, I kicked you out.
Please, can I please say something?
Come on.
Share this, like it. If you want to see other episodes we have like this, check out our YouTube channel, the Denmarks. Now you can go back.
Absolutely. Please share it, like,
You gonna
subscribe with
repeat what I
everybody you
said,
know.
too?
Yep, I wanted to
Oh, my
reiterate it.
God.
What's up, Cody?
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
We
We're
are
doing good.
We're doing really good.
She let me talk a little bit.
I'll let you talk. All right, go ahead. I'll let you talk.
You got it, bro. Go on.
So, Cody, we're so excited that you found some time in your schedule to come chat with us, talk to us. We I know it's tough in the middle of the day, so we greatly appreciate you. I want to dive into it. You ready to dive into it?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
I want to say, I want to say that Cody's part in the conference is going to be the most exciting. Like, to see what Cody has in store for us. Like, just know I'm geeked about it. So I'm a little different, but I'll let you go and do what you're gonna do.
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know, Cody is one of our speakers at the Simple Sexy Flipping Conference that will be taking place on January 27th and 28th. So if you haven't got your tickets, make sure you get your tickets and make sure you use the word Cody for 50% off so that you can get a 50% off discount.
Let's go.
All right.
Can I get the first question?
Absolutely. Do your thing.
All right. I'm gonna ask 2 questions at one time.
No, that's not fair.
All right. My first question is, who do you work for? And my second question is, I'm gonna let you answer the first question.
Thank you.
Excellent question. Very happy to be on here. I'm a little nerdy about it too. I've been doing this for 5.5 years, so of course I get into things and get excited about foundation cracks and freak people out. But it's what I do. I love it. So I'm a licensed home inspector in the state of Alabama. I work for Timberline Inspection Services, and I may know your question. We do not answer to municipalities, governments, state, anything like that. We are strictly third-party private. All the information that I find and report to the client belongs to them.
All right.
Ooh.
That's some great information. All right. So the follow-up simple question is, who is Cody?
Well, I was born and raised in Alabama, lived here all my life. Jasper, actually, Walker County, most of it. I'm a father of two, husband. Like I said, I get nerdy about foundation cracks and spooky basements and things like that. My mother actually did a lot of work with museums, so I'm actually hoping to bring some education, material identification to the conference. Actually working on some things like some displays. I love doing that kind of stuff. I don't know, I'm 33 now, getting old, I guess.
No, you're still young. You're still young. That's exciting. That's exciting. Cody, I don't know if it's something that you're hitting, but it's giving a little feedback sound sometimes. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Say test.
Test.
I can. Okay. You hear it? No,
okay.
You don't hear
that
it?
might,
okay. So it may be.
You might actually be hearing my children.
Don't worry. I have a lot of dirt. Okay. Well, they say they don't hear it on their end, so it's got to be strictly on our end, so we're good. Okay. Well, good. Cody, you have told me about quite a few accomplishments that you've had. Tell me about your accomplishments and why people should really be listening to you from an inspector standpoint before purchasing that first or any investment property.
Yes, ma'am. Well, like I said, especially when I started early on, I say experience isn't everything, but it very much so helps. Been doing this again 5.5 years. First started out, I was commission based. So basically I was doing checkups for hedge funds on their rentals and then did everything from that to inspecting chicken houses because it's what was available. Yeah, I've even done agricultural inspections, commercial inspections, residential, multifamily, and agricultural. So insurance companies would have me check on chicken house operations and make sure that they were doing everything guideline wise and make sure their equipment was up to speed. One secret is you don't walk into a chicken house until they open all the doors and turn the fan on. Because about 5 feet in, I went blind. It's I think it's ammonia, whatever it is from their droppings. Yeah, it causes you to not be able to see. So that was a learning curve.
Oh my goodness.
Learn something new today.
You learn something new every day. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I've inspected a lot of different things. So, I mean.
So a lot of people that we help, a lot of people that listen to this information are new investors. So if you had a new investor, what type of advice would you give a brand new investor when it comes to should I get a home inspection or should I not get a home inspection?
Sure. Absolutely. Great question. And what I kind of like to start with, for one, as everybody can probably tell, and those that know me already know, unlike some inspectors that are kind of closed off and protective of the information, I absolutely love sharing the knowledge, the info. Of course, I want people to use me for an inspection, but if they learn enough on their own later to weed that out, at the same time, that's making money. That's part of investing. So one thing for sure, if you are new, there's a lot of information that you can learn on an inspection report, such as identification of materials, not to mention just major system problems. For example, most things people are concerned about are roof, foundation, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. That's the big ones right there. Most of those can also run you thousands of dollars depending on, the contractors. So they're the most important things in my opinion. Like I said, for the reports, the good part about what we do. Go ahead.
Go.
Tell us, what's the
Okay.
good part about
So
what you
the
do?
good, so the good part about what we do is, yes, most people, if you're lucky, because I'm having a bit of trouble with this myself, if you can find a contractor that you trust that will actually go through a property and explain problems to you, fantastic. But the rub with that is usually the contractor is looking at a set amount of things. They're not actually there on an inspector's guidelines. They don't have our governing bodies. So they're looking at certain things mostly that they can probably repair. Whereas we go through absolutely every major issue, absolutely every condition, location of cutoff switch, all of that information that would let you walk through that property in your mind without ever being there is on our reports. You can use them, you can show them to your contractors. Say you've got a property, you've had an inspection, you bought it, and then you're trying to hire an electrician and they start asking you 50 questions. What's your conductors? What type of system do you have? Is it fuses or breaker panel? Things of that nature. If you don't know, it's on our report. So you could definitely use them to your benefit. And everything that we inspect comes, most everything, unless it's cosmetic, gets a photograph, a location, and commentary, all on a digital compiled report that we deliver via email.
Oh man,
That's sweet.
that is like golden right there. For the people that's watching, ask your questions to Cody at any point in time. This is for you guys. If it's an investment, personal, whatever it is, you can ask questions to Cody. He'll be happy to answer them. One thing I would say from a pro tip standpoint.
Before you say that, I want to just echo what Cody said. For those of you, if you haven't realized it, Cody just said you don't have to be the expert. You can lean on him as the expert when it comes to your houses, when it comes to personal properties that you're buying, when it comes to investment properties that you're buying. Lean on Cody's expertise because you don't have to know everything. But if you know someone that knows enough and that's an expert at it, you can grab their expertise and use it to help you in what you need to accomplish. Okay, pro tip.
That was great, girl. I'm glad you said that.
I was gonna forget it if not.
One thing I will say is that when we first started investing a decade ago, I actually cheated. On my first 4 or 5 properties, I hired a home inspector. And what I did was every time I had paid them, I would walk the property with them. And that home inspector was just like you.
Well, no, that home inspector was Timberline. It was Mark.
Yeah.
It was Mark.
Can I finish?
Okay, I'm sorry. But yeah, like
that
sorry.
Home inspector was just like you, to where he wasn't holding the information back. So if he sees something, he would show it to me. He would teach me about it, and I was really getting invaluable information by getting a home inspection. So like you fast forward now, I can walk through properties. I'm not licensed inspector, anything like that, but I can know what to look for, and I can see money pits before anybody else sees them.
And I would say, Cody, you've helped us a lot. I know when we were doing that house in South of Roebuck, and you said there are some mechanisms, some fungus mechanisms you're going. I was like, oh, we got to get up out of this one because we don't know where that is. And we honestly, that was something we didn't see with us. Like, as many properties that we've done, we had never seen anything like that. And I'm sure had we got a retail buyer, that was going to show up because nobody would have seen it enough to even cover it because it was in a laundry room.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems, honestly, and one of the other benefits to the report is even if you think you see everything that needs to be repaired, even if it's a full gut and you don't get one prior to purchase, an investor can get one after the rehab. And that way they'll see anything and everything that a purchaser or buyer's inspection report will say, and you could get ahead of, say, 5 or 6 little cosmetics that would hold you up, or something that would affect financing, cracked windows, for example. You can use those reports for multiple purposes. It's not just a cut and dry thing. And anybody that has questions as far as what it can be used for, I'm happy to sit and talk to them about that.
That's good stuff. One of our mentees told us that they actually get a home inspection as their final punch list before they put us on market. And we were like, what? And they said, yeah, it lowers exactly how much they have to come out of pocket once the inspector comes because they've done that.
That's correct. All right. Question.
Go ahead. I'll let you go.
All right. I will say, what is the biggest mistake you have seen an investor make when it comes to investment properties?
So personal experience, both working with investors from an inspector standpoint, and then even delving into investing in other realms. One thing I've noticed, at least I've kind of put two and two together, is that, and you guys have run into it, even though we're in this investing world and we know plenty of successful investors, you've got one or two that said, "Oh yeah, I invested in real estate. It was a big pain in the headache. I lost money, this and that, this and that." Most of those individuals either A, did not get an inspection, and that's not just to sell inspections, but they had absolutely no construction experience. They did it just based on having the money to do it. Well, if you don't know what you're doing with that money, and if you guys have always said, which I've adopted too, you don't know what you don't know, then
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't. How can you use that money correctly? And then, of course, you end up upside down in a real estate deal. You're not going to want to do it again. I mean, we don't do it for fun, even though it can be. We do it to make profit. So it's worth having that expertise.
It's definitely worth it. I tell everyone, it's not monopoly money. This is real life money. And it looks good on HGTV. It looks good. You see the transformations. But if you don't have any education, any experts that are helping you and guiding you,
right,
it can really go wrong. Especially in this market, it can go sideways really quick.
I totally agree. Totally. You got a question.
All right. Tanya said, should an inspection be done before and after rehabbing?
Okay, so that is subjective. It's definitely beneficial, in my opinion, to have two, because again, either A, you're depending on other professionals to do the work and don't have the experience yourself, or you're out of state and you can't go check on it all the time. How are you going to determine that it's been done in any kind of, quality fashion other than putting it on the market and then having an inspector for a buyer kill your deal and it sit on the market for months, at a time? But I have people that only get it before, so they know any and all problems, and then they utilize that report for their rehab. I have one that literally releases the report to his contractor along with my comments and locations. And then I have one that does them both, that gets it afterward. I even know investors that buy the house, completely rehab it, and only get one at the end. It's really your prerogative. It's what you feel is most useful. Like I said, it really depends on your plan, your marketing strategy.
I would definitely recommend, if you are a first-time investor, if you've done under 10 deals, you've done under 10 renovations, I would definitely recommend you get a home inspection before you get into the property. Because like Cody said, you don't know is what you don't know until you get in that situation and you wish they've known or leaned on a friend that could have told you, because it could save you tens of thousands of dollars.
I just ran something personally where, being an inspector, I went into a house that had 1980s electrical equipment, which you get into the details, it gets complicated, but basically there's very few material issues or recall issues with 80s, not to mention it's newer wiring. So I didn't expect anything. And then when I started kind of getting quotes, it turns out if the city has cut the main cables from the pole to the house or the meter, and it absolutely has no electrical service, the city may require the entire house to be rewired. I did not know that. That's nothing that would ever be on a report. This was specifically dolomite, by the way. I don't think that's everywhere, but it's a good idea. Again, when I go in and do an inspection, even if you haven't noticed that it's cut from the road to the house, you just think it's off, I will tell you that it's cut, and that might save you a lot of headache. I try to be as detailed as I possibly can.
You heard
Sorry,
my that whole rewind.
No, but just think about it. There are plenty of times where we purchase the house, and if it hasn't had power for so much time, they're going to require the inspectors to come out and inspect it before Alabama Power can release it. So I can definitely see that. And if you get a good inspector, they're gonna tell you this this is old.
All this got to come up to code.
This has to go. Absolutely. All right.
And the city
Yes,
guidelines are completely different.
yes, the city guidelines are completely different. So Yasmin said, is your inspection as detailed as a home buyer inspection? What are some things? What are some things you include? So I guess first, do you have a different investor versus home buyer inspection? And
So
if so,
we
what are the
did.
differences?
Yeah, we did. There has been just a quick backstory without a bunch of information, but again, I like sharing details. There's been some changes in Alabama concerning regulations for home inspectors. So one of those, jumping ahead, was that we can no longer do the investor or 4-point inspections that we were doing, which were actually awesome for investors. It allowed you to pay half the price and only get the roof, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing, and then I looked at the foundation. Half the money, didn't focus on cosmetic issues, let the investor know the big ticket items that they wanted. Now we can't do those. So yes, literally the investor inspection and the personal home buyer is the exact same inspection. Exact same inspection. I do tend to include a little bit more detail for the investor, simply because it's not anything that they can fix over time. You're wanting to fix this as quickly as possible and get it back on the market and turn it. As far as what's included, we look at 400 to 500 different things, and no property is the same. Not all properties have the same systems or materials. So to say what we look at is fairly difficult. But for example, I pretty much do a top to bottom. I walk the roof if it's safe. We do the entire interior, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, run everything we can, even if, because this happens a lot, unfortunately, even if utilities are off and we're talking about an abandoned property, I can still go in and get some information. Not as much as I can if the utilities are on, of course, but we look at all that. I do outside, foundations, crawl spaces, basements, doesn't matter what kind, as long as I can get in there. Let's see, siding, windows, basically everything in between. Like I said, it's really hard to break it down just because one property, for example, a 2003 on a slab with no decks, stairs, or anything like that, there's not much to look at. Then you go to some of these properties in Birmingham built in 1920, and not only is everything old, but it's got just about everything that you could think of, on it. So it really depends on the house. Like that. Yeah. My personal house is actually built in 1922. Yeah, the older ones they're tricky for sure.
Definitely.
But, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. Is there an age for a home being built where it's less trickier? I don't know that sounds crazy or not. Like,
no, it's a good question.
A lot more straightforward.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, and this is a no-brainer here, but of course, anything for me, I consider newer construction anything from 2000 to now. And yes, that's 23 years.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 2023. That's 23 years, but that's still newer equipment, newer materials, newer guidelines. So all of that, usually, unless it's just in bad condition and neglected, there's less on the report, and the report is smaller, and my job is easier. Once you start going backward from there, each decade, and I elaborate on some of this when I find it, I'm hoping maybe at the conference I can do this, but each decade has its own era of materials that were known to be issues and are now recalled. We're still
you gotta give us some of that. You gotta
give us an example.
You gotta give us some of that. Yeah.
Okay. The easy one. So basically, any house built before 1900, as time went on, hit the 1920s, and electrical supply for residential houses became normal. So anything from, say, 1930 back could possibly have knob and tube wiring. From 1930 up, more than likely, build year, it should have cloth wire and fuses. You start going up from there. In the 70s, we started getting breakers. So that we're talking about when they're built. You know, a house from 1920 could have all of that in it, because as time went on, if the homeowner upgraded, you're looking at multiple.
And didn't take out the old.
Exactly. The oldest property to date I've done was an 1860 in Coleman, and of course it had Civil War stories attached to it and everything. But what's most important is what it still had was the knob and tube wiring. It had a raceway where there were 15 knob and tube lines running all through the basement, and it looked like a race car track, and they were all still attached to a newer breaker panel. And I was like, sorry, there's no way that that's allowed. It's just, it's just expensive to replace. Whole house rewires, they can be what, $5,000 to $7,000 conservatively, depending on who you get for a house rewire. But yeah, and like I said, it's kind of hard to say them all because it's stuff that we train on with a national association to look for in different build dates. And so when I hit a house and I see it was built in 1960, in my head, I'm already going, okay, there's 5 things there that I need to look for. The house could have 10 other things that I don't expect because I've never been there. But there's certain things that it should and shouldn't have. For example, one in Birmingham that's big is asbestos. It was in almost every material they ever made. It's the best fire retardant material ever made. They just didn't realize that the fibers, when they're damaged, of course, they can cause health issues. If I'm not mistaken, just about every firehouse in Birmingham at one point had mass amounts of that material in it. You can see it all the way up to 1970 on ductwork. So when I do see it, I identify it. No, we don't make it a 5-alarm fire because unfortunately it's just there, and remediation on it can be expensive. But for example, in 1970s houses, you find it in the taping around the ductwork. It looks like a cloth tape with paint over it. I go ahead and say that it's there so that it's there, and you can consult a specialist if you'd like, or whatever it is you're going to do, whether it's a personal home or an investment property. But there's also piping. It's in tiles, but that's almost impossible to prove unless you have the box. So I don't usually remark on tiles. But yeah, so listen, there's a lot of information that you can gather from a house. It takes us about 4 or 5 hours. It depends on the age. I've done some of those early 1920s we were talking about where I was there 6 hours. It's what it took, unfortunately, to do it right. That's the other thing. We don't leave until it's done. So. Thank you.
Yasmin said, Cody, this is good stuff.
Great. You got me interested. All right.
Now I'm trying to recall back the AC units that may have had fabric around them, because I'm sure we've had. I'm sure we have some that's probably right now.
Yeah. And not everybody calls. Again, it's only a health hazard if it's damaged. But in my opinion, again, devil's in the details. If you don't know about it, some people don't want to know about it though. But if you want to know about materials in your home, call a home inspector. If you want to be able to go, oh, I didn't know anything about that, then don't call
me. Thanks.
Get Cody this question, and I got something to say after that.
Okay, Latanya said, what is the average cost these days for inspections?
So right now, and of course we are in a changing market. There's opinions on as to what kind of market, or if it's crashing, so on and so forth. But in this changing market, some prices are changing. Right now, for up to 2,000 square feet, we are $395. That's top to bottom inspection. Within 24-hour reporting, I'm usually quicker than that. It just depends. And then, of course, the digital compiled report. But if you call me, I can usually get out there within 3 or 4 days. But again, I usually have the report finished and delivered the same day. It's just we give ourselves about 24 hours. I think the top right now in the market is around $500 for an inspection. And then, yes, there are $250 to $200 inspections. If that's where you're at with your budget, that's fine. Just be aware you do get what you pay for. And we have a governing body that has bare minimum operating procedures, and that's usually what those inspections, the $200 ones. That's what those are. We remove electrical panels. Yeah, we do things a bit more. We're not top. And I'm sure someone could spend even more time than I do out there. It's just you'd never get anything else done if you did. So I try to balance it.
Absolutely. That was actually her second question. How long after?
You answer both of them.
Yeah.
All right. I got a question to the old houses thing.
Sure.
What is the deal of lead-based paint? Like,
that's one that, of course,
paint, and why is it such a big deal?
Yeah. So we've actually got disclaimers, of course, for certain things like that, because unfortunately you can't look at a paint and say, oh yeah, that was put on in 1970, it's got lead. There's no physical way to do that. You just have to guess basically that any house built around, or what is it? Let's see. Well, really any house that's not newer than 1970 can have lead-based paint. Real estate agents have releases for it. There are tests, even ones you can buy at Lowe's and Home Depot if you really just want to try to identify it. Interesting note, by the way, apparently on some HUD foreclosure deals, the only way to get out and keep your earnest money is actually to have a lead-based paint test and to provide it to them. So lead is touchy. It's right. Well, I found that out the hard way. But anyway, so it's everywhere. It's there. The hazard, of course, is when you go to remove it, the lead-based paint flakes, if inhaled, just like asbestos, can cause health issues. You don't know if that material is lead-based paint. Unfortunately, it's in a lot of things. Even galvanized supply pipe. When it starts to rust out, it can actually release lead into the drinking water. It's there. It's good to know. It's good to be, like I said, it's good to be aware of it, but it's one of those things where it's very difficult to avoid. I don't think insurance companies have any kind of negative thoughts toward it. There's certain things like knob and tube, where insurance companies won't cover a house if it has it, things of that nature, if they find it. Sorry, kids. Anyway, so yeah, lead paint is one of those things that it throws a lot of concerns to people, but you're very rarely going to come into it, and there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, if you've got immune compromised situations or asthma and you have the money where you want to deal with it, then yes, there are specialists you can talk to. There's full remediation you can do, environmental services, but that stuff gets extremely expensive. Just basically keep in mind that if that house was built in the 70s, that original paint is more than likely lead-based. The other thing that I tell people, one of the fixes for that is actually encapsulation. So if that interior of that house has been painted 4 or 5 times, it's covered up about as much as you can get. Until you start scraping and removing, Same way with scrape. Don't scrape it. No, just paint over it. Cover it.
So that's why they say the outsides are usually more, what's the word? Prone to have it because you scraping the paint off to put the new paint on, whereas inside a lot of times you just go over that paint.
And then the weather on the outside causes the paint to peel, on the outside. So of course it's exposing it to weather, and then the wind catches it and blows it around. So yeah, absolutely.
Not everybody got it, which everybody has it anyway, because you walk by houses. Yeah. Apartment buildings have it. Everywhere has it.
Right.
Okay.
All right. What's your next question?
I mean, at some point you got to ask a question too.
I feel like I have asked.
Okay. I don't want to take over the interview. I'm me and Cody be vibing, so I got to know.
I can talk about this stuff all day. That's the problem.
Me too. Me too. All right. So I know that you guys do multifamily inspections also. Is there a big difference doing the single family versus the multifamily inspections? Or are they kind of the same kind of?
Very good question. Logistically, of course, is a lot of that is logistics. So, for example, whereas the single family homes, even duplexes, I can do in a day report delivered within 24 hours. When we're talking about the multis, and I actually just did, for somebody we know, I just did 2 separate quadruplexes in Tuscaloosa, which was very interesting. So it's 2 separate structures back to back. One a day, I can finish it out. But of course, then what you have to remember is tenants. If those things are occupied, they have to have, it's usually 48 hours, but they have to have a certain amount of heads up. And then we have to hope they cooperate. So it makes everything that much more difficult. Not to mention if the unit is completely covered wall to ceiling with stuff, which happens, there is less that I can look at. It makes the inspection quicker, but it's less information that I can give you. So that changes. But I've done everything from duplexes to another mutual friend of ours, 48 units. When it gets to those large apartment complexes, I bring in a second. We make sure that we've got our ducks in a row. Sometimes it takes 2 days. I get the people behind me that I need to complete that for you. So it's not just me alone. I've got a team that I can lean on, no matter how big your project is, as far as multi. I think the most I can do on my own in one day, and do it correctly, because for me it's quality.
Absolutely.
Is, I think, a 6 plex or 6 unit would be the most I would do alone. I did some 8s alone, and I just didn't quite like how much I had to hurry through it. Not to mention, if you tell 8 tenants that the inspection starts at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, and that last one doesn't get inspected until 4 p.m., they get a little upset. So again, keep in mind when you're buying those properties, if they're occupied, the tenants are one of the big things. Working around them.
Gotcha.
And I sweet talk them, and so they let me get what I need done, but at the same time, not all of them are qualified.
Absolutely. Yasmin said she has 100 units. Call the team. Yasmin says she has 100 units for you. Call the team.
Let me know. 205-601-07. We'll figure it out. That's a big one.
There we
go. One more time. Give me that one more time, Cody.
It's 205.
Give it to one more time.
601-2607. That's 205-601-2607. That's my personal and work phone. You call or text me anytime. I don't turn it off. I also don't have a time that's too late. I might not answer you if I'm asleep, but no matter what time it is, you can contact me. It's no problem. That one.
Don't call Cody after 9 p.m.
Yeah, I don't know. The kids go to bed early, so I pass out at like 8. But it's one of the things.
All right. One thing that I do love about you, Cody, is that, and I tell everybody I come in contact to find an investor friendly whatever you're looking for.
Sure.
I love working with you because you are an investor friendly inspection person. Inspector. So being a investor friendly inspector person, you can talk the same language as an investor and put it into terms they understand. Where a lot of times some inspectors will just tell you stuff that's too big and you can't understand it. So one thing I will say that if you are looking for somebody that you can also talk investment property with, Cody is also good at that too.
Absolutely. One of our mentees uses Cody faithfully for all his multi-units.
See him on the roof all the time.
Yes. He is not buying one unless Cody approves it. So I think if he's doing it and he's been in the game since 2016,
16,
then you definitely should be doing it as well.
I totally agree. All right. I got one question left, so I'm gonna let you go. You got another question.
You done answered all my questions.
All right. Well, I can answer my last question.
You done maneuvered into my questions.
That's your excuse?
All right. Let me ask a question, Cody. What's your why? Why are you an inspector? What's your why?
So interesting, slight personal backstory. My first full-time job was in a warehouse. I didn't complete high school. I got a GED. I absolutely love to work. Sidebar, I like to work because I liked making money. But when you work manual labor, you're limited on what you can really make. So most of my life had been manual labor, and there's still some of that in inspecting. But I was actually working at the ABC store selling alcohol, which I don't drink. And my wife decided, or my fiance at the time, wanted to get interested in being a realtor. My wife is a realtor. We don't work together. There's just too much liability. We try to keep it completely separate. But she was in real estate, and then she said, "Why don't you look at being a home inspector?" And my dad actually is from a law enforcement background, so kind of investigation already, interested me. I just didn't think I could be a police officer, and looked into the inspections, and then started realizing, because I'm one of those odd individuals where I don't drink alcohol when I worked in ABC, but I would learn about all the different liquors, and it wasn't required. So I'm standing over there telling them about the scotches and how many years and what region they come from. And they're staring at me like, "You have to know this?" I'm like, "Oh, absolutely not. I just like knowing it."
That is so cool.
That was another thing, is this home inspection. There's so much detail you can get in houses, and no house is the same. Even if it's a cookie cutter neighborhood, there are slight differences. Everything down to the direction it faces and how the roof ages. I mean, there's so many different things. And then building science is a big part of it. I'm actually hopefully eventually going to get a bachelor's in building science to kind of just benefit me toward my work. But what was the question? I'm sorry. I went on a tangent. Yes.
Your why.
So,
that was.
So
I just learned a lot about you, though.
Yeah, we were both in real estate early on, and my wife has always said, which is, you have to explain this a little better because technically there's still land being created, but property, they're not making any more of it. That's what she always said. And then everybody that I knew that was well off or at least stable financially, which is what I wanted, was in real estate or was at least an entrepreneur in some fashion. They invested in something. So that's why I did it. And now we have two beautiful daughters. I want to be able to throw money in their college funds, things of that nature. And whereas I don't want to, be where my kids see that all there is money, I do want them to learn they have to bust their butt to make it, to earn it, basically. And then at the same time, I don't want them to ever really have to want for anything. And then, real estate investing is one way I see that happening. Not to mention just real estate, period. Again, wife's a realtor, I'm an inspector. We're in the business. We've got information that can help us in that. So I went on the long version there, but there it is.
Beautiful.
No, I love it. I love it. That was perfect.
Okay. Any questions from the people to ask Cody before we wrap? I'll tell you that Cody is one of them guys. He's going to have some good stuff for you on this bus tour. I am ready. I am waiting. We're going to try to at least get 2 properties in on this bus tour.
Definitely.
So if you have never met Cody, if you've never walked through a property, if you're thinking about starting an investment journey in 2023, being on this bus tour is a must for you. I'm telling you now, it'll save you a lot of stress, a lot of money, a lot of heartache. Make sure you are on this bus tour.
Absolutely. I had one more question. Did you forget your question?
I forgot it. I told you to let me answer. I forget.
I just had to hurry and get mine in. Well, Cody, I want to thank you personally for coming on. You have been amazing. You have taught me a lot in just this short time. So I'm very appreciative. I can't wait, like Antonio said, until the conference to really dig into it and really get some bad reviews on some of these properties that we think are winners when they may not be. Or if they are, it's just going to cost a little bit more to get it where we need it to be. So I'm excited. I can't wait. You guys make sure you use the promo code Cody for 50% off. So use the promo code Cody to get your tickets. We are sold out of early birds. We have a few general admission left and a couple of VIPs left. So
one thing I will say is to my new investors, understand that everything can be fixed. Don't let a roof scare you. Don't let sagging floor scare
foundation.
you. Don't let those things scare you. Just understand and respect them, But understand that with the right amount of money, all those things can be repaired. So don't just think because it's a total number.
I always say the right amount of money can fix any issue. Only the investor knows what that right amount of money is for their budget.
Yes,
absolutely.
Totally agree.
Absolutely. So build it in, build it in, build it in. And you guys, I hope this midday explosion has been giving you a midday boost. It's keeping you on your journey, keeping you challenged, keeping you ready for greatness in 2023. Don't lose focus. Don't lose sight. Lean on us. Lean on Cody. We are all here for you. And let us know if you, even after this and you're watching it later, let us know if you have any additional questions. We'll monitor it to make sure we answer them for you. All right.
Great job.
Thank you, Cody.
Thank you very much, Cody.
I appreciate y'all having me on. Thank you. Look forward to the conference.
No problem.
We appreciate you. We look forward as well.
Sound.com